Hello and welcome to this video. In this video I'm going to be reacting to Is College Necessary? Pro versus Anti-College. This is a video by Jubilee. It's part of the Middle Ground series. And well, I'm just going to take a look at it. Now, personally, I would say that college isn't necessarily necessary in the practical, sense. But however, there is, of course, the argument to be made of it's necessary because people say it's necessary. You know what I mean? It's the same thing with, if you don't go to college and you just use your points. In my country, like in my country, you use a point system, or like you use like a how many A's, how many B's, or so on. You got, and the problem with that, of course, is that it doesn't really mean anything. So a lot of these times it doesn't. These sort of things, they don't actually mean anything to do with your skill level. They really are just a series of test results, and test results are unfortunately, well, not accurate to skill level. And I can tell you that much. They're really not accurate to skill level. So ultimately, I would say, well, college is not necessarily necessary for a lot of things. It is necessary to get a job. So, but it's more that it's necessary because we say so, kind of thing, rather than actually being necessary. Anyway, let's dive in to the video.
Middle Ground is a social experiment that brings humans with opposing beliefs together. These discussions may contain viewpoints that are the result of misinformation. Remember to seek out experts and to be critical of your own biases while forming an opinion. Please see the humanity in each participant, and as always, we encourage empathy.
My grandmother being a college professor, when she and my grandfather graduated from college and earned their master's degrees, they were literally able to take that to the bank as a down payment on a home.
When? Not now, you can't. Trust me, you could have a doctorate in something, and you could come to the back and they say, what? No! You have massive debt. Why would we give you a loan? No, first of all, you pay off the loan you already have. You wipe yourself of debt. Then you have to have a down payment. Of course, that down payment will be difficult because while you're getting that down payment, you also have to have rent. Now, maybe if you didn't have the need to pay that rent, you could just continue to get down payment by just, collecting the money you spend on rent. But of course, instead, every single bit of money that you would have spent on giving the money to the bank, you're now giving to rent. That means while you could technically get a mortgage, once again, same sort of thing there. The bank is not going to give you a mortgage now just because you went to college. No. They're going to require a lot more than that. Proof of stable income, proof of you've got to have a lot of money already collected, and all these things. Just
home. A college degree meant guaranteed income.
Not anymore. So I think it's a bad argument to be like, yeah, college was good before. In this way. Oh yeah, it's not like that anymore, but but it was. It's like, although it wouldn't be necessary in this sense, that would just be helpful.
Step forward if you agree with the prompt. My parents expected me to go to college.
I think most do.
Even though my dad didn't go to college himself, he, went through a little bit of like an associate's degree, but his main thing was a photographer. And then my mom, being from Jamaica, completely different, education being her way of getting out of that kind of environment, poverty, things like that. She always wanted me to go to school, and they both put me through private school to better.
Private school. The funny thing is, America has got this weird system. Like America's, in my country, you can get some really good public school education, like really good. Like you can have really good teachers. So in my country, depends on your area, yes, but if you're in the right area, and sometimes you can do a bit of, relatively shady stuff to make sure you're in the catchment area and you can get into public schools. But you know what I mean, that kind of thing. You can get pretty good public schools. But in America, I think it's slightly different because America they underfund the public schools by a wide margin deliberately so that they can push you into spending money, and also so they can segregate you.
To prepare me for college, so they kind of started me off on the path as soon as they could.
Growing up, I actually didn't even realize there was an option to not attend college. I thought that part was mandatory, but you may or may not graduate. It was very important.
Yeah, that makes sense. That could be possible. I mean, I understood from a very young age, if you don't get enough points, you're not getting to college. They just won't accept you. Which is very weird ultimately, because when you charge people for something, you'd think you'd just be like, just accept everyone. You just accept everyone. Of course, obviously, that would cause problems for universities that have a lot more prestige to them, where people apply to go to them. And then obviously there'd be an issue with, well, if everyone applies to go to that university, then there'd be no other universities. But, but besides that, it doesn't always make sense to reject people. Of course, it does make sense when it comes to supply and demand. But technically, if you control the supply totally, like a monopoly,
Important to my grandmother as well, being a college professor. And when she and my grandfather graduated from college and earned their master's degrees, they were literally able to take that to the bank as a down payment on a home. At the time, a college degree meant guaranteed income.
Oh, good. She qualified it as at the time, because now, good God, no. Now it would be a negative. Having a college degree to go to the bank, we'd be like, So you've debts going to college? Oh, you do? Okay. Well, no. Why would he give you more loans when you already have debt? Like,
Income.
My dad was always the type of person to say, get your degree, I don't care what it's in. So I always felt a little bit of flexibility.
It does matter, because there are some college degrees that are just completely useless. Like, I'm going to admit this. Like, I wanted to. I was thinking if I get enough points, I might have gone to some of them, but obviously I didn't get enough points. But you know what I mean? It's like, but like you don't want to go into them really because they're kind of useless. It's like, yeah, I have a college degree in this. What job are you going to get with that? And it's not like doing medicine or something. Like, if you can get a job with that, that's a bad thing in my opinion, because that proves nothing. That just proves what you have a wide aspect. Like, there's just certain things that just don't really need to be college degrees. They just really don't need
About what specifically I wanted to do, and that's why I kind of took community college as a time to try a lot of different things and see what I'm interested in and not break the bank. My name is Pam and I'm pro-college. The main thing that I feel like I missed out on by going to community college first was that I wasn't given the opportunity to pursue leadership roles in
you can. There are clubs outside college,
clubs or things that I was a part of. There is a bit of a stigma with transfer students that you're not, you weren't there on campus long enough. I encountered a lot of people who would discuss feeling imposter syndrome or feeling like they weren't good enough to be at a school like UCLA, that they couldn't do as well as the people who had been there all.
Well, that means nothing, because college is it's a place of education. Technically, if you know everything, you shouldn't be there to begin with, because what's the point? That's my point. Like, the whole point of a college is to educate you. If it's just a ground for you to get a result, like, if I could literally go into a college, revise a bit, take a college test, end of year, and then go, boom, there I have qualifications. Why are you going to college then? Because it ultimately seems like the only reason you go to college is so you can get the qualification. And there are certain subjects that do not teach you anything. They just revise it with you. They just make sure you have it in you. And then it's like, yeah, I already knew that, but good. I may obviously forget and everything. And then you learn it, you do the test, and boom, there you go. You now have your degree. But if your whole point is that the only reason why you couldn't just get your degree instantly is because you have to serve those years, obviously, then it becomes pointless why you have a college there. Why not just have a single test? Just do the test, So obviously, I think colleges are supposed to be grounds of learning, not grounds of testing, because grounds of testing is just terrible idea. Terrible idea.
All 4 years, and I definitely felt that feeling sometimes as well.
Can the disagreeers step forward?
I don't think. I mean, if you're disagreeing that your parents want to go to college, that'd be the best.
There was no expectation for me to go to college whatsoever. So it was really my personal decision to go. I saw a lot of poverty like in my community, in my neighborhood. And so how do I avoid this situation as an adult?
You see, the thing is that is ultimately an argument which is a kind of it's an obvious kind of good argument. You know, it's obviously not, you can't argue against that. You know, obviously a college degree can definitely bring you higher in the world when it comes to poverty, but like, it's the issue of the argument is based off accepting the way society is now. And the way society is now is that it values a college degree like that for no reason. Just, oh yeah, it's the same thing with private schools. You know, why are you valuing it like that? Oh, it's because I went there, or oh, it's because, you know, we just feel like that way. It's like, but that doesn't actually mean anything. A lot of the time, college degrees don't mean anything. Obviously, there are certain college degrees which are, you know, obviously, you know, if you're gonna do medicine, I think it's pretty important that you learn a bit more than just, you know, your general sort of high school thing or that sort of thing. Like, best if you do a college degree when it comes to certain things, because, you know.
There was no plan B for me. So it was like, you know, if I don't do it, I'm going back to my hometown and I'll be working at a factory somewhere, or I can do it and, you know, see what happens.
College's use of affirmative action is problematic.
So my personal experience with affirmative action, when I went to the PWI, I was chosen pretty much based on affirmative action. There was a lot of heavy marketing, hey, come to our school, come to our school.
Yeah.
Affirmative action can be problematic in the sense that when these students reach campus, there is no place for them.
Yeah, it's like, okay, they have clubs, they have other people that they could reach out to, but it's more like once we get you in, you're on your own. You got to figure out by yourself. And I also think it's being problematic when it comes to society, because now you're having a lot of white Americans saying that the only reason this person got into this school was because of this reason.
Especially private institutions, these Ivy League schools.
Racist people.
Certain types of people attend
You know,
these.
kind of racist, and, you know, people who want to feel better about themselves, which is kind of sad if that's going to be your argument of like, yeah, you only got in here because, like, what? No, what are you talking about? You know, like, you know. Anyway, a lot of the time you have this sort of thing where it's like, oh, affirmative action, but it's like, but technically, how do you know the person wasn't just gonna come on? You know, it's just, you know, anyway, if something is broken, you know, getting a bit of tape and going, oh look, that's not fixing it. So ultimately, you're trying to. It's broken. It's a broken system. So yes, that person is making it better. But of course, you'd argue the reason why the tape is there is because it is broken. So yeah, fix the issue.
Schools. If you don't necessarily fit their standards, then once again you can be ostracized from that group. My name is Zakia and I'm pro-college. Not going to college is a privilege depending on who you are and who you know. I feel like colleges support minorities depending on where you are. For me personally, I'm from Baltimore. There were opportunities for minorities. Of course, it's a majority minority city. If I was in another state that was maybe more conservative or predominantly white, I do feel like I would not have had it.
It shouldn't be a problem if it's primarily white. The issue is America is filled with racism. So if an area is predominantly white, it's most likely going to be fairly racist as well.
As many opportunities.
Now I'm getting college courses for student college.
Meritocracy can't exist in the same place where you have nepotism and legacies and all of that. But there's always some sort of an action involved in getting people into universities. I personally know someone who attended classes at a certain Ivy League university with a future president. And he was a terrible student, but of course he got in because he was legacy and his family donated a building. So, and that's how you become president. That's America. Affirmative action is good to give people an opportunity who wouldn't.
Another thing there, just addressing Ivy League. Ivy League universities are very concerning because they really mean nothing. A lot of the time, the issue with colleges is that you say, oh, it's easier to get a job if you go to Harvard or Cambridge or Oxford or all these things. Yes, but are you a better person at doing the job? The answer is no. Oftentimes it's actually worse because there's a lot more of a an attitude there. But the point I'm making is ultimately that in this position, the issue arrives with you have other people judging you based on the college you go to or the lack of a college education rather than your ability. And the issue with that is that breeds this kind of attitude of, oh, it's necessary. Yes, that's because of other people. It's complicated,
Otherwise have it.
I think the intention is good, and you can't speak to intention when the system looks the way it does.
We also have to factor in the aspect of finances and money and schools making money. And
well, very easy. You just pay the schools. The government pay the schools. Yeah, I know it's very simple. You just don't have. You don't need the government to forgive student debt. You just don't have student debt to begin with. The government just owns student accommodation. The government will own universities, and boom, don't let universities operate as private businesses, and then boom, you just sort of go, the government just pays for themselves. Very, very simple. It's very a lot more simple.
When we're talking about intention, yes, there might be one professor that's like, oh, I'm so glad you're here. But that doesn't speak for the entire university. That doesn't speak for the board. Is the intention to give us minorities an opportunity, or is the intention to not hear complaints?
To boost their numbers, boost their diversity levels.
Well, I actually think about it differently. I think affirmative action, definitely works against nepotism, and I feel like if it were no affirmative action, a lot of black students wouldn't be able to go to PWIs. And so I agree that, once you get there, there is a difficulty being a student of color on a predominantly white institution with that position.
No, it's mostly down to combating racism. But the point is, you can't have an argument of, oh, look, we're combating it. It's like, but it's there. Why is that thing there? Sure, yes, you may be combating it, but it doesn't really matter because that thing is still there. So why? Remove that thing utterly. You won't have to combat it. Just cut the racism out. Of course, obviously, that would require killing people. So, obviously not a good idea to do that necessarily. You can't really cut out racism, unfortunately. But,
It also was the other side that would say that same thing. They would say, we won't let you in because you won't be a good fit here, because you won't fit the culture. And that's the way that they would use to bar people from being able to go. And so, I won't say like it's better for them to turn us away because they don't have the resources. Like, let me get there and let me figure that out for myself versus you telling me that I won't be a good fit there. And that's what affirmative action allows. And I also will say, like, white women benefit from affirmative action more than any other minority group. It's not necessarily about, students of color specifically being allowed on campus.
Yeah.
It's about, minorities being allowed.
True. There's also massive amount of sexism as well. Just insane amounts.
A degree doesn't qualify you for most jobs.
Oh, this is an interesting question because it depends what you mean by qualify. Actually qualify you, like it actually means you'll go from not being qualified to do the job to being able to do the job, or being qualified, as in, yes, welcome to the firm. Oh, you're actually terrible at the job. Oh, well.
I think where we're seeing the world currently go in terms of the job market is a lot of employers are hiring for experience. They're hiring to see, do you know what you're talking about? And that,
which in my opinion is a good thing. Colleges don't really often doesn't mean anything. Obviously, certain things, where you actually learn something, as I said already. If it's a testing ground or a learning ground. If it's a learning ground, yes. If it's a testing ground, no. All that does is just make it an easier job for an employer.
That's where I think internships really come into play, and that's why a lot of college students are going for internships, is they need to go out there and get that experience, so that way employers want to hire them. No employer is going to turn you down if you're like, hey, I have all of this experience, or hey, I know how to do exactly what you're hiring for, but oh, I didn't go to college for 4 years.
Having that listed
Some will. Trust me, some will.
as a qualification and a requirement kind of is like a gatekeeping thing more so than who's going to perform the best on the job. I'm Michelle, and I'm anti-college. I became anti-college when I graduated high school valedictorian, and I realized that continuing on with college would be a death sentence. My godmother actually gave me a book called The Education of Millionaires. And
it is an interesting thing. Like it typically, because of the debt in America you go under due to a college education, you're better off. Like, you'll earn less if you don't have a college education, but because of the amount of debt you go into, you end up keeping more of it. So sure, that person who goes to college may have earned more, but because of the amount of debt they had, have to hand it over. So ultimately, it's pointless. You're paying for an increase, but the money you're paying is more than what you're increasing by.
And she hadn't read the book in advance, so she kind of thought it was going to encourage me to invest in college. But what the book actually did was explain the stories of a lot of people who became millionaires without a formal education.
Or who became millionaires by inheriting wealth, by having a formal education, but that not being paid by debt, but being paid by people who had a lot of money, because to pay for college, especially in America.
Think right size, right angle, right up there.
Okay.
Do you remember how
Room.
Do you remember how Alice wasn't always in Wonderland?
Okay. Interesting.
Most companies don't take the time to read that resume. They feed it through a machine. If you talk the talk and know certain people to jimmy your way in there, you don't really need the qualifications to do the job. People who
if you can talk the talk and know the people, but if you don't,
who have the qualifications don't get the job.
I've been job hunting over the last couple months. I started like a spreadsheet where I was putting how many of them are asking for X amount of years of experience. Almost all of them were college degree needed. I still even got like maybe 3 or 4 for every 40 that I applied to.
I'm originally from Miami, and I used to work for the county, and I used to work for social events.
Once again, college needed is not actually an actual requirement. It's just a artificial requirement, Basically, if I said, oh, well, actually, to work at this this laundry cleaning service, you have to have a degree in astrophysics. Is that you needed for the job? No, it's really not. But the thing is that I want to set that gatekeeping. I know, it's just a fun little game I like to play with the lads, Anyway. That kind of thing. It's just it's a tough situation to be in, but
events, and now that I've moved here, it's really hard for me to transition towards the same field, because I tell people, hey, look, I used to run football tournaments, I used to host food drives, but because I don't have a degree in marketing or in event coordination, people, like you said, when I put on Indeed, they say, hey, you need a degree to get in. But because I don't have that degree, I'm not even allowed in the door. My name is Kenny, and I'm pro-college. Going to college is really important to me because I've had a long line of family members who have been educators. My mom, who passed away from cancer, was a teacher. And when she came to this country, the only dream that she had for me was to go to college. In the early stages of me going to school, it felt like a very hard burden to carry. The fact that I don't know what I want to do when I go to school, but I just have to do it because it's somebody else's wishes. But eventually, when I started growing up and realizing that I have my own reasons for going to college, and I, on top of that as well, can fulfill my mom's dream, was something that really kind of pushed me towards wanting to continue my education and going to school.
Once again, though, at the end of the day, that's not a real reason. That's an artificial reason.
Student loan debt
Well,
should be forgiven.
Recently enough, there was student loan debt.
It's crazy to me that you go for 4 years and you are paying off hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, and you might actually meet all of the payments and you still have like double to pay. A really popular payment plan that we've been seeing, Purdue University started doing this, it's called income share agreements. So instead of paying for your degree up front, if college actually helps you land that job, you start to pay a small percentage of your salary over the span of a few years. And after 5, 6, 7 years, whatever percentage you pay, great. If not, and you're not making a lot of money, then like the college actually failed you in helping you get that career that it was supposed to in the first place.
I like that. It puts accountability on the institution where it should be.
Absolutely.
True. It can be abused, of course, if you have the percentage wanted a little bit too high. It's like, careful, you know.
The borrower.
It's very easy to be like, well, in like the Nordic countries, you pay $5 and you get your degree. Like, it's easy, but it's different here, and it has been, and it will.
Yeah, I think a lot of people's argument will be to, emigrate for 4 years, especially if you are already renting. So if you're already renting as a college student, people make the argument of like if I go to Trinity, right, in Dublin, if I journey over to Trinity, but I say, well, I've got, of course, I want to be in Dublin City. So I'm in Dublin City, okay, so I'm renting in Dublin. Yeah, that's gonna be a colossal amount of rent. So if you're already renting when you're going to college, the argument people will make is why not go to the other countries? Because ultimately your costs will be the same. It's not like if you go to college but you stay at your parents or whatever it is to be, because in that case, obviously you don't pay rent. So, obviously rent will be colossal.
Will be unless some big change happens, but I don't know what that is. I don't know how do we address the millennials who went through college and have racked up billions in debt, and how do we change it to make it better for our future generations too?
You just don't have debt. You just don't charge for college. It's very simple.
And I really think it should be canceled just because of the pretenses in which the loans were actually given out. I'm like, it's literally the definition of predatory lending in terms of, giving thousands of dollars to someone with no credit score. And so, when they get those loans and they don't really understand, like the interest is racking up, and then 6 months after you graduate, and whether you have a job or not, you're gonna have to start paying them back.
Why, y'all? What's going on?
My disagreement is in the way that it's handled. There's this particular scam which is widespread. People have gotten caught up in other scams, and those are not just immediately forgiven. I do understand that it's kind of like it's a different situation because of how much pressure was placed upon you getting into this scam, even governmental pressure.
But my point is ultimately there shouldn't be a need for, it shouldn't be a case of, student loan that should be forgiven. It should be, there should be no student loans. Why are there student loans? It doesn't matter, like you people have a second like, I think college should be free. That's just, I'm not saying you say that college is like, because, anyway, it's the same with health in America. It's like, you're gonna breed problems when you turn things into profit institutions. Is it necessary or is it not? If you're pro college, then how can you be pro student loans? It's just being stupid. You're saying, so someone has to pay for the thing which is necessary. Then why?
As well, which is why, they bear some responsibility in it.
I was a victim of one of these scams. I took a few loans out, and then my last year, I didn't have enough, and so I took a 5K loan, and that one was the worst one. Like, what held me back from stepping forward was the word all. Some people might have taken out that loan, gone to college, and now they're making tons of money that they can afford to pay it back. If somebody's capable of contributing, then why wouldn't they? I'm Daniel, and I'm anti-college. I took a lot of different classes while I was in art school, and I gained, I guess, a wider set of skills than my other brother did. The thing that felt unfair to me was that it cost the same for us to go through college, yet I got a better return on my schooling than he did, and he still has to pay the same amount that I was having to pay. If someone's unsure of their career path, is it worth them going hundreds of $1,000s in debt when they don't know what they're going to do with their life?
Sure.
College campuses are radicalizing young people.
Oh, this will be interesting. I've got the factor on this. Skip.
I hesitated at first because I was interpreting that as the universities influencing people, but I don't think that's the case. I think people who might have certain beliefs are going to college and just spreading it to their peers. So in that regard, I would say college campuses are contributing to that.
When you see a headline and you see that a college is pursuing this or it's agreeing with this, I feel like it has a lot more damage towards a story.
Here's the thing. Colleges do not want to drive away consumers. Here's the thing. Let's say colleges are free. You're not going to go, okay, well then I'm just gonna pick the other college because it doesn't matter. You know, you didn't get into that college. Like, once colleges are free, you can raise the bar. You can make an elite university where you need like a massive amount of qualification to get into it, because you aren't forcing people to pay high sums of money. So instead, you go, well, no, and this is free, and this is free. So if you want to get this one, you're going to actually have ability more. You know, it's not like it's cheaper where, oh, we need to have the thing, or it's more expensive. So now, like ordinarily, more elite universities would just shove up the price, and that way they could just force all the poor people or people who can't get loans. So the point is, ultimately, in this scenario, well, you can argue, you know, colleges just wouldn't want to lose the consumers, and the consumers are the students. Colleges, you know, very, very racist. Well, I don't think I'm really going to hang around you. And if there are a lot of other colleges available, well, that's the case, you know. And that's the problem with private institutions, really. They are all about the profit. So, you know, colleges, you never know what the faculty really want. You know, same with the police. Police are terrible in America. You know.
As if the school is promoting this type of behavior. And I feel like because they notice that a lot of people are getting a lot of attention for those specific schools, it's like, okay, let's give them more incentive to do it, because it's helping our name get out there.
If you're not, you know, in these spaces where you're hearing a lot of arguments from every side, it's easy to be like, well, that doesn't apply to me, so why would I care? I think for me, at least, being in a college environment, I was forced to see these things and more exposed than I would have been if I hadn't gone.
When I heard the word radical, I like paused it for a second because I think it has like a negative connotation just in the media. And so I feel like when you hear people say radical anything, you're like, you know, like, okay, that sounds like something bad. I feel like it's really the education, like they're learning more about the society and about the history of the government in America. And so that does sometimes make you angry and makes you want to speak out and, you know, become an activist for a certain topic or position.
Okay,
in my mind, though, it's no different than what algorithms are perpetuating on social media right now. You know, if you're...
Yeah, it is true. It's like having an aging population. It's like, oh, universities are doing this. Well, maybe it's not universities. Have you thought of people who don't go to university? If you don't go to university, but you're doing the same thing, well, then they wouldn't obviously be university, would it now? It'd just be your age group. And ultimately, age groups are, you know...
if you're on Twitter, you're going to be following people that are within your space, and you're...
Twitter's an interesting thing there, because Twitter is one of those things that has historically been more prone to pushing bigger people. And unlike other platforms where they match you with friends and like people, they would instead say, oh, you're interested in this. See this celebrity or see this popular person who agrees with you. See this person? See, you like that, don't you? And the problem is that breeds this kind of environment of, you know, this weird thing there. And of course, this also leads to celebrities getting very angry when they get banned. I made a video on that before when it came to Facebook. Facebook actually removed my account before. The point I was making was I wasn't saying anything there. They removed me because they wanted to, you know? But you see, I'm not complaining about that because all I made in the video was I can just create another account. And this is the point. Like, Twitter breeds this attitude of like, oh yeah, no, you're not being cancelled. All you need to do is set up another account. Of course, the issue is you won't have the followers. You won't have all those people who know you because you won't be able to use your identity, you know? If you're a famous celebrity and you say something super racist online, obviously, yeah. So they say, okay, we're gonna have to ban you because that actually led to someone, following them home. So we need to address that. But of course, if you address that and you say, okay, well, that's harassment, or whatever. But of course, now of course you can just set up another account. You can still spout all the things you want to spout. It's just you won't have the following, and that's why celebrity is problematic because they don't even understand. You're losing your following because that's the whole point. The platform doesn't want to platform you. Okay? They don't want to show your content to,
And you're going to be seeing that content. And I think that's actually playing more of a role in radicalizing and doing more in the political space than what we're actually seeing at college campuses.
Me personally, I grew up in a conservative Christian household. Growing up in those environments, I feel like radicalization, it really starts at home. It starts with what your parents tell you about people. I think that when we get to college, we're in more of a free space to voice these opinions. And even on social media, there's also a level of anonymity, so people feel more comfortable sharing certain viewpoints. I feel like these things start at home and they're just pushed more to the forefront once you get a little older.
Yeah, and just to make you aware, interestingly, American colleges are filled with incels as well. Like Yale has had a massive history of incel culture. So, radicalizing, yeah, definitely. In Yale, it radicalizes you to be a fascist, apparently.
Colleges prioritize making money over providing quality education.
Maybe in America. I mean, although, sometimes indirectly through state things.
Oh, we all agree, how nice.
As someone who works at a college, it's a business first, and I see that firsthand. I think it really does come down to the bottom line for a lot of institutions in terms of them making money. And so they will make certain decisions in terms of, what will allow us to make more money, what makes us look better as an institute versus, necessarily the care of the student being the primary concern.
The teachers that I had at community college were no better or worse than the ones at UCLA. Sometimes.
Thank you. See, this,
better. They were nicer, they were more approachable, smaller class size, more classes available in community college. When I got to UCLA, I thought, there's one class and it's only at 5 p.m. Are you kidding me? How am I supposed to make a schedule about that? So I kind of realized a lot of things when I got to UCLA that this is not exactly what I thought it would be.
The college that I graduated from, they had a heavy focus on freshmen. It was all about freshmen, freshmen. Bring in more freshmen because the graduation rate is already so low. Freshmen bring in money, freshmen are there the whole year, and then if they stay, they stay. If they don't, they don't. They were changing all of the dorm buildings to freshman dorms so that only freshmen have housing.
Talk about the quality of dorms too.
Oh!
For the tens of thousands of dollars they're paying.
Terrible. Yes.
What is that? How does that make sense?
Also, when you look
in many countries, you have to they just don't provide enough housing. And they're like, oh we got loads of students can study here. Oh, housing. Oh no, we don't have that. No, you need to find a place to rent. Yeah. Oh yeah, you're not earning any money, but yeah. Well, you're earning a bit, but not enough because it's part time. But you'll have problems. Yeah, probably maybe share a bedroom. Probably, you'll have some bad experiences. We're breeding a ground here for just terrible people to do terrible things. That's what a university does ultimately.
Look at public institutions and you see the salaries, 90% of the time you're going to see that the highest paid person is a college coach. You know, and that'll show you where the actual money is going to, and it's like millions of dollars more than every other person that works at the institute. My name is KC. I am pro-college. College was an opportunity for me, definitely.
Like, yeah, that is true. And also, college students don't get paid, I believe, in America. You know, athletes, that's...
With the ability to lift me out of poverty. I grew up in a single parent household, raised by my mom. And so I think that just the ability to go to college and earn a degree set me up for higher paying jobs and the ability to pay my mom's bill as well as be a better person in my community.
True.
The college acceptance system is rigged.
No. I would say, yeah, you know, there was that scandal where they were paying into the air. But anyway, we have an ad, so.
Do anything, anywhere with Air Mobile this summer. That's no limits 5G data, unlimited calls and unlimited texts. Plus 30 gigabit EU roaming from just $9.99 a month for 12 months. For more, visit air.ie.
A good deal, you know.
Be your own boss.
Is this you? They were involved in scandals before, so.
So I went to one of these events that the school that I was really strong about, just to learn more about the admission process. And my mom ran into one of these acquaintances she met from like back in the day, and he had put all of his children through the school. And one of the things he told us was that the school made it super competitive to get in so that their acceptance rate looks like, 8%. But for transfers, it's much higher. Like that's the way into, I would argue, most of these schools if you don't have the proper grades or maybe you can't afford it that year. There's back doors, and I'm just hearing that, I'm assuming there are more back doors.
My dream college when I was in high school was I really wanted to go to Georgia Tech. I started my college admissions process in West Virginia, and going and visiting the college counselor on Georgia Tech's campus, they were like, this is what you need to do, these are what you need to hit, this is how many APs you need to have. My junior year, my parents moved us to Tennessee, and I ended up applying to Georgia Tech from Tennessee, and I got denied. And I was heartbroken because I had met all of the stats that she had told me to meet. I ended up calling my admissions counselor at Georgia Tech because I'd developed a relationship with her, and I remember crying with her in the car and just being like, what happened? And she straight up told me that if you would have applied from West Virginia from your school, you would have gotten in. My name is Mehek, and I'm anti-college. When I first entered college, I thought that you had to have a college degree to be successful and to start your own business. And I met a bunch of people that—
To start your own business? No, definitely not. Like that is one thing where you specifically do not need a college degree. Nah, in fact, it's probably not a good idea in America to get a college degree and then start your own business, because you're gonna be racking up a lot of debt, and even if you're not, that's the thing. Like, I should go for that. Like, even if you're not, even if you've got like someone who's wealthy enough to pay fees, you can ask that person, could you possibly not do that and instead invest in my business? That's the thing. So to me, I don't think it's a good idea to go to college if you're thinking of starting your own business, because, well, certain things, but mostly not really, because it's gonna, in America specifically, it's gonna rack up a lot of problems. Money is not necessarily just the debt, but also even if you do have the money, you're better off spending that on your
people that had dropped out of college that were between the ages of—
Although I should qualify that by saying that right now, small businesses tend to become problematic with succeeding because bigger businesses keep crushing smaller businesses by, invading their market share.
Of 18 and 23. That was eye-opening to me because there were people that had raised millions of dollars to start their own companies, and they didn't have that college background. My mom has her master's, my dad is a doctor. So for me to turn around and say, hey, I actually don't even think I need 4 years of college, I think I can actually just go out and do things on my own, it was a big cultural shock for them.
I think about college as like what we said in terms of being a business. And I feel like all businesses are rigged to make as much money as they possibly can.
Yeah.
The institute makes more money when students are out of state and paying out of state tuition. Knowing what we know about college acceptance, what would you all want to see? Like, there's no way that every person that wants to go to a particular college can go. So it's like they have to find some way to weed people out.
I think there needs to be more transparency over.
Well, generally they shove the requirements up, but or the fees.
Overall with universities, students really need to be like aware of like what they're going to college to do, who they are looking to learn from. I think will be beneficial. Can they learn from them once they get there? I'm Kyle and I'm anti-college. If I could do it all over again, I would choose not to go to college because there have been several benchmarks that I can think of where I've progressed creatively that have happened outside of the classroom in terms of experience, or things that I have learned from people working in the industry, or lessons that I have discovered about myself just from sitting doing the craft that I want to do that more or less was not taught in the classes that I thought I would be taught.
We should stop telling kids that they should all go to college.
That's...
Yeah, I think some kids, if they are really, really excelling in the school, then yeah, that you want to encourage that one. But you'll always have that kid that just has no idea what they want to do, and that person shouldn't be pressured to go. Shouldn't even be encouraged to go. They need to just figure out something. But
there's also a risk of a high risk of failure, which is ultimately an issue. Which is, you may want to go to college and do a specific thing, but maybe like you don't have, you maybe not good at that. Like I did a good few. I did subjects in school where I wasn't particularly good at certain areas of the subject, and like even if I was to get an amazing result in the subject, it wouldn't matter because I wouldn't. That might make me allowed and qualified to go to college, but that wouldn't make a difference. Or wouldn't be, I shouldn't go because obviously in that scenario, why would you when the risk arrives with you thinking, well, it is a possible risk that you'll just fail, and
skills are not conducive to a
exactly.
normal degree.
Exactly.
Like go to trade school, learn a trade, and you'll make money.
Trades are good, yeah, because people don't really want to trust businesses with trades. If you saw, let's say you had a company, let's call them Niall, and let's say just go log on their website and book someone for the trade. You're like, you want me to book an absolute stranger to come to my house? Well, I don't know them. They're not local. Okay, I mean, that's fucking weird. There's certain jobs where community is very important, because otherwise it's like
I think that we need to switch away from telling every single kid that you need to go to school. More like, hey, look, if you don't want to go to school, here are some other options.
Yeah, definitely like more career focused, more profession focused. Like especially in like some of our cases when we're expected to go to college and people don't care like what degree you have. That's a little bit of a red flag because you really need to be intentional about the choices you make.
College is no longer an indicator of future success. With the internet, with just all of this access to knowledge, you can create your own future outside of college. And I think it's really good for helping you move into career paths where like doctor, lawyer, where like you do need a higher education. I think other than that, I think it's a lot cheaper and it makes a lot more sense for people to find a trade school or to go to their local community college and just get the skills that they need to, so that way they can start working.
I was going to say, I definitely don't think that college is for everyone, but I think that most of the time when we hear conversations of people saying you should go to college, it's usually from people who did not go to college. It's like generic advice in terms of like, you should do something with your life. That's really what they're trying to tell you, and they just use college because I do think it is still an indicator of success. Like I know you said it's not, statistically, you are more likely to make like $1 million more than an average high school graduate.
That's a wrap on the group discussion.
However, you're also statistically more likely to earn less overall, because unfortunately, when it comes to debt or the amount of money you invested, maybe it's not debt, but obviously it's worse if it's debt because you have to pay interest. But if you're taking a loan to go to college, Yeah, you're most likely earning less. Like even if you earn more, you're most likely earning less as of a net pay once you deduct everything. Also, going to college is a very expensive process, even if you ignore just the college part. Like, when you are 18, you can technically live in a parent's home. When you're like parent guardian home, and still go to work if your work is in the area. But obviously, if you go to college, it's a little bit harder to, do that, But anyway, that was Jubilee's video on is college necessary, pro and anti-college. At the end of the day, I would just say this. College is necessary because that's the way it's constructed. People just respond that way. However, is it actually necessary for a lot of things? No. For certain things, like medicine, yeah, it is definitely. Anyway, so yeah, thank you for watching. If you want to, do go ahead and subscribe to Jubilee. Give it a like, and yeah, hopefully you will come back next time.